Hi, I'm Dusty, the co-founder of CashOrTrade.org, the world's only social ticketing platform where fans have come together to buy, sell, and trade tickets at face value, free from the scalping brokers of the resale market and the leaders of the face value movement. I want to thank you all for joining us and working together to disrupt the ticketing industry. So I'd love to tell you a little bit about Cash or Trade. It's a fair ticketing platform where fans have come to make a post, whether they're looking to buy, sell, or trade a ticket. The second they list, it will send an alert to anyone who is looking. They can click on the alert, hop into a conversation, and commit to buy. Once they commit, the money will be held in escrow by Cash or Trade. We'll securely transfer the funds, and we will validate the ticket. You can transfer, then leave a review. It's a lot like Airbnb for tickets. So embrace the face and see you at Cash or Trade.
As live music fans and musicians, we're all at risk for permanent hearing damage. The standard options for ear protection are foam earplugs, which block everything out so you can't hear anything at all. And then there are custom musician earplugs, which are really expensive. Vibes high-fidelity earplugs, as seen on Shark Tank, are affordable, reusable earplugs designed for live music fans and musicians. Instead of blocking out all sound, Vibes reduce the volume of loud live music to a safer and more comfortable level that prevents permanent hearing damage and ear pain, while still allowing you to hear the music clearly, whether you're a live music fan or a musician. Vibes' clear, low-profile design make them virtually invisible in your ears so you can be discreet about wearing hearing protection in public. Each pair also includes a carrying case and 3 sizes of interchangeable ear tips to ensure a comfortable fit for any sized ear. Vibes are used by hundreds of thousands of live music fans and musicians around the world, and they're trusted by the country's top professional orchestras and college music programs who outfit their musicians with them. Go to vibesearplugs.com/NSR to learn more and to get yourself a pair of Vibes high-fidelity earplugs for less than $30. That's vibesearplugs.com/NSR. vibesearplugs.com/NSR. Vibes high-fidelity earplugs are great for all live music fans and musicians, and they make a great holiday gift. So check them out. Protect your ears with Vibes.
Why can't every day be like this? No simple road. Yeah, no, I've been on that road too.
Little rewind with
your little rewind.
Thanks.
Apple's a little rewind. Hi, Apple.
Hi, little rewind.
Hey, little rewind.
Little rewind.
Hi, Mel. Hey, No Simple Road family. It's Aaron, and we're here on another episode of the No Simple Road weekly rewind.
Hey, and it's Mel, and I got my giggles out, I think.
No,
and this is Darwin.
Hey, Darwin.
I mean, Apple and Darwin. Darwin's representing. He's holding down.
You know what, everybody?
Floor.
Darwin is on the upswing. So all of your prayers, good vibes, thoughts, whatever.
Mojo.
Mojo, Reiki love, put him on your altar, whatever. Like
it's working.
It's working. I mean, he's still an elder, but he's
just old now.
But he's got his little shine in his eye. He looked like a puppy earlier when we were coming down to record. So
thank you all. So much.
With a little change in the diet, a little bit of more Reiki every day.
A little more meds.
More meds.
He's got some life in him still.
Also, speaking of Darwin, this episode is also brought to you in collaboration with The Grateful Mountain. That has nothing to do with Darwin. If you ever
tried to make it work,
it's shoehorning that in. If you ever thought that you wanted custom tie-dye stuff done and didn't know where to go, that's your spot. At The Grateful Mountain on Instagram or thegratefulmountain.com. Go check out all the amazing work he's doing with tie-dye stuff. And he will hit him up, slide into those DMs over there on Instagram, and tell him what you want. He'll hook you up.
Yeah, he'll do customs. I was just looking at his store. He's got some great bibs. He's got those tie-dye shirts for the Dead & Company that has like the necktie tie-dye thing. He's doing some really cool stuff over there.
And it's a small business.
Yeah.
Help support
'em.
small businesses.
And put in the promo code NSR20 when you're checking out.
NSR20.
Too. You're going to get 20% off your order. I don't know why I sung it, but
Why not?
You're gonna. And free shipping anywhere in the continental United States.
That's very generous. Thank you.
Thanks, Travis. So, yeah, Mel, you have your giggles still?
They're out, I think. I mean, I love when I have the giggles.
It's probably one of my favorite things because I know you get a little faded and then you get giggly and it's fucking hilarious.
Laughing feels so good. I don't know why people like try to like
you got to hold it in.
Stop their laugh, like stop a sneeze. No, go for it. Let it out. Let it sound crazy and silly and loud. Like liberation in your laugh is one of the coolest feelings.
And the way Mel laughs, if you tried to hold it in, I
blow
think
up.
you'd blow up. Like when people, it's like when people sneeze and they do that.
Oh,
Like
God, my sister
stifle
does
it.
that. Holds her nose.
Oh,
dude.
it hurts me.
My feet will get like really puffy.
Big. You have chombones.
What's wrong with Mel? Oh, she's been holding in her laughter.
Hey, everybody, this is not your typical weekly rewind.
Weekly rewind.
Yeah, we have a guest.
Yeah.
Not here at the moment. We're going to get to that in a second. But we talked with Christian DeBenedetti from Wolves and People Brewery out in Newberg, Oregon, and they are throwing a brand new festival. This is
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
This is going to be dope. It is March 15th, and Broken Compass Bluegrass is playing. Never Come Down, Tuesday String Band,
Yep.
all NSR alumni there, and a bunch of others. You'll hear all about the whole thing, and where to go for tickets and all that. So just hang tough.
So this is to support the burgeoning or blurgeoning or what's that word?
Burgeoning.
Burgeoning. Bluegrass.
Bludgeoning.
Bludgeoning.
We're not
It's
supporting
a little
bludgeoning.
different. Yeah, no, don't bludgeon people or
Oh my
anything.
gosh. No, but that's bluegrass scene.
Mhm.
And here closer into Portland and not so far out, like they have some wonderful thing in Sisters. And what did you say? Who has another one?
Tomorrow's Verse.
Tomorrow's Verse.
Tap Room.
And maybe there's a bunch that I don't know about, but new ones that we know about. So we're excited to bring you this. It was a really awesome conversation with Christian, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you
March
hear us talk
15th.
about, if you are a beer lover, connoisseur, check out the Wolves and People Brewery that he has on the farm that he grew up on. They are making some very unique, interesting beers crafted with all local ingredients and collabs with other breweries. It's pretty amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, you can go to Wolves and People, go to their website, and there's a link at the top of the page that says Newgrass Festival. And if you click that, you'll get all the info. This is a whole day of stuff, starting with like
Workshops,
a free
and
pancake breakfast in the
Mhm.
morning. And it's a whole day. You could bring the family, bring your instrument. There's going to be workshops, like Apple said. I know there's a flat picking workshop. There's a beginner fiddle lick workshop. I think there's a harmony singing workshop. So this is a day of fun and music
Yeah.
and community and people. And I feel like after meeting Christian, we have another member of the No Simple Road family.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Since this isn't a Friday episode of No Simple Road, we're not going to do the whole like without further ado thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're just going to do it. We're just going to go into doing it. You ready?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
This is it.
Everybody's like, yeah.
Is this it?
Do it.
So that's it.
That's it.
You're not announcing anything.
Okay.
No, just get ready, everybody. You can tell we're all wound
Well,
up.
Like, after you listen to this, I hope you get hyped and come support this local festival because it's going to be pretty cool.
Mel, you feel like you didn't get your money's worth or what?
Kind of.
You okay? We can hang out for a minute.
No, it's fine.
It's fine.
No.
If you feel cheated.
I don't know that I even have much to say. I just felt like that.
Okay.
No, it's been a pretty relaxed week, like for everybody. It seems like, including Darwin, who's feeling better.
Yeah, I just took a gummy.
It all rolled out of Aaron and Simon's
Seattle weekend,
getting
Yeah.
very relaxed, and we just kind of went with that this week.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
All right, yeah.
you're sure?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to, when we leave later, you're like, I didn't get to say.
I don't don't know what I want to say right now.
I know one thing I want to say. If you
Nobody was asking
if
you.
you have not heard enough of mine and Mel's voices, if you want to
that's right.
tune in on Tuesday, Cam Hurt is releasing. Me and Mel went on
The best show ever.
The best show ever.
and talked about our best shows and bad shows. It just talked a lot and had a great time with Cam. That's coming out on Tuesday. If you want to go over and listen to that, please do.
That was a really fun day.
I wasn't even there, so I don't know.
I'm looking forward to
fine.
listening back to it because we talked a lot. We got a lot out in the time we had.
We
with
really
them.
did. We added a lot. We didn't just do one. We did like a bunch for each. For each
You
category.
guys cheated on the best show ever?
Kinda.
Okay, I'm Letta. He's like, yeah, people do that.
Okay.
Yeah, he
listen.
hosted, so he could have cut us off.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of cutting off,
thank you for being a gracious host, Cam.
Yes.
It was awesome.
go follow No Simple Road at No Simple Road. Go to the website. Hit us up on Patreon. Support us. We need money.
Leave us that Apple
Continue
review.
this. Yeah. You guys know the thing.
Yeah, the
man.
tepid line 971-808 1524.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was right. That's it.
Yeah, you know all the things.
And tell somebody you love about No Simple Road, man.
yes.
All right. Here we go. We're going to do this differently. We're
What?
just going to go into it.
We're going to go into it. So listen to this really cool conversation that we had with Christian. He was a referral from
a local band member from Knuckle Grease Station here in Portland. I met one of the members of that band briefly at King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard in the middle of a torrential
Oh my
downpour
gosh.
rainstorm and handed him a sticker. And that handing of a sticker led to this conversation with Christian.
which is so cool because, like Aaron said, it felt like another new No Simple Road family member.
Mm-hmm. So here we go, guys.
Listen to this. So Bill got this together, or you did, Christian, or both.
Bill got together.
All right, right on, Bill.
Thanks, Bill, for doing this.
Thanks, Bill.
We're rolling, by the way.
Let's go.
We're rolling.
Yeah, man. Well, welcome to the house. And
Thank
to
you.
No Simple Road, and we're stoked to have you here. Can you introduce yourselves to the folks?
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really stoked to be here too. So my name's Christian DeBenedetti. I'm from Portland. Grew up here, and I have a little brewery out in Newberg called Wolves and People
It
Farmhouse
looks cool.
Brewery.
I was checking it out on socials. As he was like, Mel's on social media. I was checking out.
Right on.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's a great little spot. It's on the farm where I grew up, and I'm a lifelong music fanatic. And I'd say during the pandemic, I started getting more serious about guitar, and I found, I won't go on too long, but I found
Please,
the guitar.
go long.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too long. I could really split the atom on this, but I found my favorite, or let's say a dream guitar in a pawn shop that I've been carrying around a pick, in my pocket as a good luck charm for.
What guitar?
Well, it's a really old Martin guitar, and I found it, and I had to have it, and I knew this was a 30-year quest. I got it, and I bring this thing home, and it needs some repairs, but it's the best thing ever. And I was like, I gotta learn to do this some justice, and start having a bluegrass jam, which I wanted to do at the farm always. So this is the perfect reason to put it out there. So I put it on Facebook on some local, music group, to live music listings in Yamhill County or something, bluegrass jam, whatever. 2 people show up.
Okay, great.
And both of these guys are superb musicians. Right away, I'm like, oh man, and they're like, we're going to tell everybody about this. And so the next week it was like 10 people. And
Oh
then
my
12,
gosh.
and it just mushroomed in size. And that was like an amazing feeling, because suddenly what I had wanted was more community, to learn and play more music. I've loved bluegrass since I was in college, and this was a perfect way to bring people out to us. Of course we wanted more people to come to the brewery too, but it really wasn't about customers. Like, we're busy in the summertime. It was more about, for me personally, wanting to build a community, touch base, and learn more about the music and learn my guitar better. And it really has been amazing. So here it is 4 years later, and we have a very active weekly jam going on in Newberg, and a festival.
So, okay, I have a bunch of questions.
But wait a minute. So something that seems selfish, air quotes, ends up blessing and creating an entire community. You wanted to play your guitar and have people come to you. That's pretty, seemingly selfish until you get everybody out there. And then now this beautiful, thriving, incredible community, and a festival that we all Dude,
we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, but anyway,
Wait,
right
so
on.
thank you.
I have to ask though.
Yes.
Did it help your playing?
Oh, I mean, yeah, because absolutely. I mean, I already was feeling like a real novice, right?
Yeah.
And here come these guys that have been playing for decades. They know all the repertoire, they have deep skills, a lot of songs, but we were able to, come together on a bunch of tunes too. And right away I knew like, this is going to be great. I got to learn so much from these guys. And
who were the first two? Like what instruments?
So guitar and banjo.
Okay.
Right
and there was a mando as well, so they were switching off, and both of these guys are working on the festival with me as well now. So a guy named Dave Porches in Bootleg Jam that is performing at Newgrass, and the other guy Cameron is not performing in the band right now, but he's running all the seminars, and he's a really great clawhammer player, banjo and mando too. So they were just fast friends, We had this amazing, clique, and they're like, this is like right away invited all their people from the Valley. And we started getting musicians coming down from Hood River, Salem, Independence, like Portland, all over the place.
Wow.
And that was just a huge blessing. And it really has become a good community of friends. And, Bill Dolan, who is a Knuckle Grease Station, was a more recent like guy to come to our jam session, but his band was formed out of members that were at our jam session. That was created at our place. So like, I love that. Like that's the best, actual best thing. Actual bands are happening.
It became an incubator.
It's an incubator.
Yeah. Wow.
I just feel lucky because people are teaching me, I'm learning. They're loyal friends, and they're helping on the festival, so it's rad.
Okay,
this is a true thing to the say you build it and they will come.
Yeah. Throw a jam and now you have a festival.
Yeah.
So March 15th at
Chehalem Cultural Center.
Okay, this is 415 East Sheridan Street out in Newberg, and tell us a little bit about the festival itself.
Yeah, so there's a really neat thing. And Newberg is a pretty small town and not a lot of live music venues. But about 10 years ago, this thing was open called the Chehalem Cultural Center in an old grade school. So they turned it over slowly into this big, very beautiful kind of arts facility for, performing arts, live arts. There's a big ballroom, all these different things. But the upstairs had an old auditorium, like the old school stage, wooden seats and everything. And that was like the last thing they put together. And I heard through the grapevine they were going to be doing this. So long story short, I went down there, I asked for a tour, and it was just down to the studs, but they were like, in 6 months, it's going to be finished. It's 215 seats, state of the art, everything. And I asked if they had programming yet. And they said, no, we want the community to come to us. So I said, kind of on the spot, how about a beer and bluegrass festival? And they were like, let's do it next year. Perfect.
What?
So it was just like automatic yes from them. And then that was about 9 months ago. So we just started to kind of lay the groundwork then. And the festival is going to be all around the whole facility. There's a ballroom where we're going to have a pancake breakfast and a live band. And so that's fun.
Right up my alley.
Free, open to the public. Yeah, that's going to be cool. And then the seminar started at 11. So Never Come Down is doing two different ones, a harmony vocals seminar, and also a flat picking seminar with Joe Suskin. And then there's Mei Lin from Broken Compass Bluegrass is going to do a fiddle, like fiddle licks, kind of beginning fiddle licks seminar as well.
Is this something where you're encouraged to bring your instrument?
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to have a place for people to put their instruments when they're seeing a show. There's going to be like a room where we can safely keep your stuff.
Wow.
Because we want people to be jamming in the, in and around the facility and just meeting other people and stuff. And so there are three or two bands playing in the lobby in the, different times, and then 5 bands on the new stage upstairs. So all day it's going to go from 9 a.m. until like 11 p.m. It's going to be a huge day.
Are you, do you have like any history in creating festivals or shows or in any of this kind of arena?
Well, thanks for asking, because I have a really good story about this.
Okay.
So I went to college in Walla Walla, Washington.
Okay.
And when I was there, a good buddy of mine, my best friend, lived across the hall. He was building a mandolin in his room. And I was like, what's this dude doing here? He's like sawing on what are you doing there? He said, I'm building a mandolin. And he kind of was like, you need to learn to play guitar so you can accompany me as I learn my homemade mandolin and 5-string banjo. Anyway, the two of us got way into bluegrass. This is back in 92 to 96.
So you deadheads.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
He'd been on a lot of, he'd been all over. I hadn't seen quite as many shows as him, but I've been to quite a few, and yeah, we love the music
Okay.
deep down. So we find out that the college has funds for live music that they're not doing anything with. And so we go to the student council and we're like, we're freshmen here at Whitman College, and we hear there's a fund somewhere for some live music. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, you just make an application. So Dave and I reached out, and we were able to book some kick-ass bands at Whitman College. We got the Grissman Quintet to come to Whitman. And Peter Rowan and I mean, it was
Holy
crazy.
shit,
it was
man.
crazy. So we were freshmen and we did not know really what we were doing, but we brought these artists with a student budget, and we put on the shows and the posters, and we got to hang with them and help on sound and do everything. We were just little kids, but like it was some of the funnest nights of my
again,
whole
I
life.
can't even imagine.
But you know what? Like little kids, sometimes they have the guts to do something
Yeah,
like
they don't
that.
know any better.
They don't know. They're like, who's going to tell me no? Until they get the no, they're just going to keep going.
Yeah, or stupidity, naivete. What do you want to say? I mean, we got Leftover Salmon. Like we had all these killer
What?
bands. We tried to even do bigger ones, but wisely, I think we pumped the brakes on a couple really big artists that probably maybe wouldn't have worked out as
Get
well.
over your
but
skis a little bit.
we had a little, yeah. So we pumped the brakes, but the most memorable. I mean, there were a lot of memorable ones for sure, but the Grissman Quintet really kind of became a core memory for us, and we got to meet them, and they filled a 350 seat auditorium, and like he gave us CDs. I sold merch for them. Everything about it was just kind of a life experience that I could never top in a way as a young music fan. So there was a little bit of a seed, I'd say, from that, and Dave's done
This
a
was an
different.
ongoing thing or a one-off?
That was just in college. I
Okay.
mean, we did like 5 or 6 shows.
Okay.
And then I always wanted to do more. And then, in the last, music's always been important. I've gone to tons of shows my whole life, but I would say in the last few years, like for me personally, playing music, developing skill, doing this festival has become much more important. So I'm really excited to be kind of like going back in that direction.
So I'm just looking at the flyer. So it's from 9 to 11 is a bluegrass brunch sponsored by Newberg Rotary Club.
That's cool.
And then you're going to have
Pancakes.
beer, wine, and cider tasting workshops, food trucks, local vendors. And then playing the festival is Broken Compass, who has been on NSR, Never Come Down, who's been on NSR, Tuesday String Band, who we just had on, and then Josh Cole Band, Sawtooth and Sons, Knuckle Grease Station, Coral Creek, and Bootleg Jam.
Yes, you got it.
That sounds fun.
It's a
Bootleg
huge
Jam.
lineup.
Who was in charge of the lineup?
Me. I'm a music head, and I just had the chance to go out and the story behind Broken Compass, we kind of started with them in a way because we wanted to find a really good or great headliner that is in the right place in their career so we could afford them. We're not a big entity. This is the first year of Newgrass, so we don't know how it's going to go. But another great player named Chris Luquette, who is a bluegrass player, he's from the Northwest, and I saw him on a show recently. I just follow him online. Great dude. He was in this band called Frank Sullivan and Dirty Kitchen, great bluegrass band. So he posted something about Broken Compass, and I went in and watched the video, and I was blown away. I mean, they're phenomenal.
It's
talented.
insane.
Yeah.
Insane band, right?
Yeah.
So that right away, I was like, maybe these guys could come up from California. And I just kind of reached out, and they're like, this actually fits good timing. And we helped them book the show down on Sunday and get some other gigs in and around the weekend. So once we kind of had them locked in, our budget went way down after that. But then it was like, okay, let's, and we had some connections to Never Come Down through someone who comes to our jams a lot. So, we were able to kind of reach out. And on New Year's, I went to the Never Come Down show at the Showdown. Was fantastic. We were able to meet them and to tell them a little bit about Newgrass, kind of plant a seed a little bit. And they were like, yeah, we hope we can do that. And so it ended up working out. After that, we picked bands that are pretty close to the brewery geographically or have some connection to us through friends and family. Knuckle Grease, of course, is born out of our jam session, and same with Bootleg Jam as well. Those guys have come a lot. So Sawtooth and Sons, phenomenal. They're really so cool, so traditional. Hal Spence, the leader of that band, or one of the leaders, was early at our jam session. This guy's amazing. Sawtooth and Sons or Sawtooth Bluegrass back in the day was opening for Bill Monroe Flatten Scruggs, Merle Haggard, you know, like insane
Holy-
story.
Yeah.
And like he started telling me about this, and I was like, this is incredible. And he and his son have this just spine tingling harmonies, you know, sibling harmony.
Aw.
And so we got to know them a little bit. And so when the festival got closer, I'm like, gotta have Sawtooth and Sons. And, you know, so it was a lot of different reasons and angles that led to it.
Yeah, if the festival is born out of the community that this has been fostered by your brewery.
Can you talk about
Hopefully.
like you know, how when because not everybody listens to bluegrass, not everybody knows that the scene of like going to play, and what does that even mean when you go play with, you have a session or a jam? What does that actually look like, or what does it entail?
Yeah.
If somebody's new, like, oh, I just got a banjo, I want to start playing with people. What does that even look like?
That's a super good question, because I had to learn a lot. Like I didn't know what to expect. And these guys showed up, and they obviously had this deep repertoire of old Flat and Scruggs songs, Jimmy Martin, you know, some Dead tunes, all the stuff I wanted to hear. But they kind of helped direct me, like, don't let this become an open mic where people are, you know, just playing whatever. It's going to go out of control. And sure enough, within a couple, 3 weeks, the word got out. There were so many people coming, then people would come up and be like, can I do a tune? And we'd be like, oh yeah, sure. What do you want to do? And, you know, pop songs and, you know, like, you know, popular music. And okay, sometimes it worked. Other times it wasn't great. And so these guys would take me aside and be like, hey, listen, you're doing a great job with the jam. This is awesome, but you got to put the brakes on it. You got to do traditional. You got to do bluegrass. You got to do old time. It's just going to run off the rails. Other words. So we kind of gently put some blinders or some, I want to say some, you know, kind of
the guardrails.
Yes. Guardrails on it, and kept that, you know, vision true, and kind of just politely reminding people, you know, we're doing bluegrass. And then there's some etiquette I didn't know about either when I started, which is like go in a circle clockwise. The next person who's up calls a tune in the key, and they get to sing it generally. And, you know, and you go around like that, and then just more fair, and everyone gets a chance to lead a tune. And so I learned all of that through just being a part of it, and it was kind of eye-opening for me. I hadn't done it before, but, you know, through that I learned a lot. And it's just mutual respect. Everyone's like, it's your turn. Maybe everyone doesn't know this tune, but we're gonna back you up. We're gonna play it with you. You know, so that's nice
for somebody like me. Like I play, I've never been to a bluegrass jam before, right?
Oh, you got to come out, dude.
Right?
This is so fun.
So like I don't know a bunch of fiddle tunes. I know a few. If you're going around the circle and it's your turn, can you just say
any tune,
or can you just say no? I'm
absolutely.
Next.
Absolutely. Yeah. Pass.
You guys pick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Or if you don't want to play a break or whatever, traditionally every person takes a break along the way, and you don't have to, you know, if you're like, yeah, you just nod. If someone nods at you, it's like your turn to take a break. You can do it. Oh, and everyone understands. Off you go. So it's in a key you don't know. For example,
right.
You know, I don't play in the key of B minor or whatever. Like, okay, next, no problem. It's very mutually respectful. I love that.
And you could just lay back and learn and watch and play, and as little or as much as you want.
Absolutely. And, you know, I have to say this, I hope this doesn't come off as a brag, but there's a regular guy who comes to our jams from Portland named Bruce. Great dude. And he took me aside, and he was like, this is the kindest and most open and most chill jam in the Northwest.
Wow.
And I got choked up when he said that, because there's a lot of jams where people don't feel that welcome if their chops aren't up to here, because there's a lot of good pickers now.
Yeah.
In the parking lot, you're hearing people that are shredding, you know, at shows, and you know, people come to our gym sometime and we're like, whoa, you know, these guys are really talented. So, but I think in our jam at this thing going on 4 years now, it's very friendly, all levels, like even little kids, everyone's like, your tune, you know, let's go, you know, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
It's the way it should be.
It reminds me of Sierra Hall talking about it when she was going to these jams, and as an 8-year-old, 11-year-old kid, and they're allowing her to play and sing and encouraging it. And look where she's at now.
And she credits that as one of the things that gave her the confidence to do what she's doing now, to keep going, was building that as a kid and feeling accepted by elders in the community.
Yeah, and not feeling like a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's your turn, not the kid's turn, or,
like
you know, exactly. Like, oh, everybody can be handed off this, you know. It's really cool.
Yeah, I absolutely. And, you know, one of the coolest things that has come out of it, I've been experiences like that. Like Rachel Bonnet is a friend of the brewery and the jam. She has 2 little kids. She brings them. She plays fiddle. Her kids are starting to learn fiddle. They're going to be at May Lynn's workshop, to hear a star player teach them the beginning licks, And so we have a very like forward or future-minded mindset about like kids learning music and stuff. And I have a little 7-year-old. He's come and hung out at the jam, and he stands in the middle sometimes looking around like he's overwhelmed by all the music and the clatter, the banjos. And sometimes there's 2 basses, and there's a lot to look at. So, but we welcome that. And that's how people get into it, hopefully.
I can't think of. Go ahead, Apple. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, just hearing all this, congratulations on this, and also thank you for doing something like this, because our first, like we always listened to bluegrass, like Cherry,
Holden in the Way and Dog.
Holden in the Way. Our first turn on to was going to Northwest String Summit in 2018.
Yeah,
2018. That was our like first like big bluegrass thing. And we were blown away at like everything you're talking about. We're watching these bands on stage, and next thing you know, a couple hours later, you see the players from the bands just hanging out under a tree, picking with somebody else, or talking to a kid about how to play, or playing with them. And just there was music.
The camaraderie.
There was music the entire time, like the late night jams, everything. It's just you're helping fill a void with that, being gone now, and building this for like all the local musicians and everything. It's just amazing.
It's very small. I mean, it's grassroots. This is all volunteer.
But that's how it starts, though, Christian. It really does.
Hopefully. I mean, I see a big, let's say, I don't want to call it a void, but there's not a ton of live music in the Willamette Valley yet. Another experience that led to me wanting to do this is there's a venue out that is covered in blackberries now, but an amphitheater that's covered up out near Shampooey Park, a state park that used to have big shows, and Widespread who played out there, and like killer shows, and all that went away at some point. And those were formative for me, those experiences, seeing bands out in the valley, out in like farmland and beautiful areas. So we'd love to hopefully this becomes an annual thing, and we can grow it and do stuff in the summer as well, and just keep going with it. And we've started to make connections with some other people that are doing festivals, and we're just kind of like dipping back into it. It's super fun.
We've got very close friends of ours that own 25 acres out in Sandy, and it's a venue.
No way.
It was once covered in blackberries too. You could not, what they have done with that place a few years ago, you could not see the field.
And it's now
it was like nothing could be done here.
And it's like a mini Horning's hideout.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the way I see this is Northwest String Summit was such a staple of the Northwest bluegrass scene for so long. And there was such a family and community that grew up around that thing, that when it ended, there's still now this hole that's been left by that. And something needs to come to take that place. Now, I'm not saying that that's what you're setting out to do, but the potential is there. I mean, that's how they started, is doing exactly what you're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think a grassroots festival is something that people learn a lot from doing. It creates community. I went to String Summit too, and I'd had some connections with the guys in Yonder out at Bonnaroo out in Tennessee, and weird, coincidence, got to work with them on this project out there and make some connections. So I got to go to their show, and I remember thinking, God, this is awesome. Like out in the woods, this insane setup, the vibe with the show, it was magical. I mean, just what you were saying about little kids crawling around and like, it was just like this fantasy show setting. I loved it. And I was like, Newgrass is tiny in comparison, but like just that vibe of people coming together around a similar musical taste and a well-run festival is, that's the best we could hope for. And if we can do it again next year, we will. If we can grow, we will. But whatever happens. We're,
that's the best way to approach it. No expectations, man. Just do the thing and see what happens.
It's a healthy attitude.
Yeah. As you start attaching shit to it
and expectations.
Yeah. You start, now you're setting yourself up for possible disappointment or whatever.
Exactly. We'll be thrilled at how year one goes if we can sell it out. The small number of tickets out are left, and connect with these bands and these artists and like just stoke the scene up. Great. That's what we want. We have a good weekend, and Friday at the brewery is going to be fun. There's before the festival, there are going to be some musicians there coming into town early. So this is not a ticket thing. We're just going to have our normal jam session, but word to the wise, we're going to be jamming, and some of the artists from Newgrass will be there too. So come what may. It's also a full moon that night. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So if the weather gods cooperate, we'll have a nice little jam.
So what was the leap to the festival? Like, okay, you're doing these jams. Why a festival? What was like the thing that was like, yeah, let's do this?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the venue coming to fruition in Newberg was one of those things where like they're building it and they need community
How
to
could
come.
they? Yeah. How could we not?
And also just seeing like I'll say this too, on our farm, we can't have really huge things. You know, we have close neighbors. They don't want to hear us. We can maybe do one thing a year, but you know, we felt like maybe let's take this into town. You know, when I started the brewery, I thought maybe we'll have lots of live music and lots of stuff, but it was, you know, there's very strict land use rules in Oregon about farmland. Farms cannot have restaurants. They cannot have live concerts all the time. There's a lot of things, a lot of hoops to jump through. And so without going down that rabbit hole, we definitely, you know, we never really caused problems, but we had some unfortunate neighbors that were just very against anything we would ever do. So I kind of, path of least resistance is not to have a festival there, is to go into Newberg where there's a whole venue being built with pro sound and lighting and a stage and everything. Like, let's just, and they want programming. So let's go there. So hats off. The Chehalem Cultural Center is making this happen.
That's really
There's a
cool.
not-for-profit, a beautiful facility, killer sound. It's going to be awesome.
Where do people go to get tickets?
So you go to chehalemculturalcenter.org /Newgrass, and Chehalem is spelled CHEHALEM. You can find information too on our Instagram is Newgrass Fest.
Okay.
On Wolves and People as well. At Wolves and People, we have some info. But chehalemculturalcenter.org /Newgrass is where tickets are sold. I can say too, there are not a lot of tickets left.
How big is this festival? Like how many are we expecting, or how many are we projecting?
So
what's a sold out festival? I guess that's a better way.
The main venue upstairs only has 215 seats. So this is a small venue. But it also, there's 8 shows or 5 shows during the day. So there are people getting tickets for individual shows or all day passes. Okay. And then 3 bands are in the lobby, and those are at no charge. So, you know, it's hard to say how many people we might see, 300 or 400 people on that day if it goes well. We'll see.
Okay. The ability to bring your instrument with you to see other bands play and then have workshops and all that, that's genius, man.
Well, I mean, I know that I want to be in the workshops. I want to hear Joe from Never Come Down show us some, you know what I mean? Like, that's incredible. And so one of the things we worked out with the cultural center is a room where, like, can people check their, almost a coat check for your instrument, because you're going to go upstairs and you want to carry your instrument into the venue and watch the show. So, you know, we want to, you know, make that. So, I mean, there's probably a quarter of the people at this festival are going to be the musicians themselves. There's like 50 musicians that are performing and 150, you know, audience. So,
wow. It sounds like a great place for the geriatrics to play the parking lot or something.
Yeah.
Him and our good friend Cody, they have a little bit that they call the geriatrics, and they play our living room frequently. Yeah, we keep messing with it. It's like, when are you guys going to play? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to get over that hump to play in front of other people, man. It really is.
Yeah, we definitely got to let Cody. Well, Cody probably already knows. Hopefully, he'll be coming to this too.
We'll tell Cody. Tell me. Go ahead.
Go ahead, because I'm going to change subjects here in a minute, because I want to hear some more about the brewery.
That's exactly where I was headed.
Oh, okay. That's I was looking, waiting for Christian to come over, and all you listeners know that I don't drink a whole lot anymore. When I do, it's like for a special reason. And I'm just very interested in hearing about the brewery, because, I mean, you are really doing some craft stuff down there with the barrel aging, all the things, the nut brew with the filberts and everything. I mean, you're doing some interesting stuff. I'm just curious about the history of that and how you got into brewing.
Yeah. I mean, this is funny because it's the way life is. Around the same time I met my bluegrass buddy building his mandolin across the hall, the guy in the next room was a home brewer.
What?
And he brought his beer over. He's from Monachi. We're still close friends. He brought his beer, and I tasted it. It was called Abe's Ale. And he pops a cork on it, or pops a cap, and he's like, "I made this brew, dude." I'm like, "No, you didn't." He's like, "No, I really did. I made it at home." I'm like, "Can I make beer at home? I didn't even know you could do this, right?" And I pour it out, and it's just like delicious, right? It's incredible beer. I mean, these two guys are two like close friends still. He teaches me how to homebrew, and the first brew that I made as a homebrew at college, I named after the farm where I grew up. I'm like, I'm gonna do a brewery at the farm. I did
You knew it then.
I knew it.
That's wild.
The first smell. I just like, what it is? I don't know how to describe it. I was just like, this is the plan now. And because it smelled so damn good. And the first batch was freaking terrible.
Sure. I do sourdough, man. The first loaf sucked.
Oh yeah, terrible. Total drain pour. And I'm still trying to beat that feeling. So I get the bug in college to be a home brewer. And then, without going in too far into it, it just became a lifelong thing. I wrote about beer. I had a career as a travel writer before I opened the brewery, and I wrote about beer a lot. And then I got the chance to build it on the farm. There had been a winery in this building, which was built in 1912. The guy finally was successful enough and moved his operation up a few miles away, and the barn became available. So I went to my folks and started paying some rent on it and built the brewery out. So flash forward here, that is, going back 12 years ago. We opened in 2016, and our focus is really on wild and Belgian and experimental styles of beer, like, funky stuff that you don't see everywhere. We use a lot of wild yeast. We use a lot of like foraged ingredients like truffles you mentioned in one beer. We want it to be as experimental and food, almost like a chef thinks about food. We're thinking about that for beer, like what's hyper local, what's in season, what can we do on a small scale that is interesting for drinkers and not just, strong or trendy or whatever. For better or worse, like we have some pretty esoteric beers, but that's helped us, develop a community too.
What's the strangest combination to date?
Oh, that we have brewed?
Yep.
Oh man, good question. I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. I mean, one of the strangest things we've done is cultivate wild yeast out of our beehives. So we actually took honeycomb and beeswax from our beehives and grew wild yeast out of that. And then we started fermenting beer with that. And that has actually become a core part of our program, making this beer called Wild Queen.
What was the impetus for that? Like,
Let's
why did you
yeast from bees.
Yeah.
I know it's super out there.
Like extra laying around.
I got stung by a bee. No, I do. A great brewer, a musician actually back east showed me how to do it. This guy named Evan Watson. He's got a brewery called Plan B, like BEE. Musician. He figured out how to do this, and I met him at a festival in Texas, and I was just blown away by his beers and his skill and his story. I'm like, can I do this in Oregon? Will you show me how? And he's like, I'm going to show you how.
Oh,
so
right on.
He helped me do that, and that was the beginning of one of the weirdest projects, but also it's become like a core, like a year-round beer is called Wild Queen, and people like it. So that's one of the weirder ones. We've also brewed with all kinds of crazy other things. You mentioned the truffles, filberts. Wild mustard flowers, radish flowers. I it would get boring if I went on. Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask a nerd question. When you create yeast from honeycomb, right? You got the honey and the wax.
Yeah.
What's the end product? Now I know the end product is yeast, but like, what is it? Powder?
It's kind of like a sourdough culture, like you're describing earlier. Like we have a flask and we add in raw beer, unfermented beer, right? We literally just in a sterile to begin with, you add some unfermented beer in there, add some wax and honeycomb, and then we put it on what's called a stir plate. So it's a little magnet that turns around in the bottom, goes around. The yeast reproduces and it you're kind of giving it conditions like you would with sourdough yeast to be healthy and happy. That yeast comes along. Eventually it's a slurry. It's kind of a thick looking cloudy liquid. And then you pour that in and then you kind of just keep growing it. So it doesn't come out as a powder. You could try to collect it and dry it,
right?
Which, big yeast companies do. But in our we think of it as a very living brewery, like trying to like keep the living culture going, pitch a new beer on top, or cast a new beer onto the top of this, living yeast in the bottom of a fermenter. Keep it kind of like kombucha or sourdough. You keep it going. So in the perfect world, you're doing that and not letting it dry out or die out. But it is a living thing. And the interesting thing is the yeast is really the boss. The yeast is in control. We're giving the yeast conditions to reproduce and give good flavors. If you give it bad conditions, it gives you bad flavors. So we're kind of like Michael Pollan, the Botany of Desire guy, talks a lot about. It's like we're all just working for yeast. The whole the whole planet is we're just slaves of the yeast. They're reproducing and we're giving it the right conditions.
Yeah. Wow. I think that like being connected that deeply to the living process of the thing, even if the consumer of the thing isn't aware that that's there, you can taste that in the end product of the thing, because it's living and there's life energy in that thing. It's not dead, creating more dead shit.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's about energy, the vibe of it. It's a real thing, you know, like we give good conditions to these beers to live and taste good and use natural carbonation. I mean, we really nerd out on that stuff as much as possible. It is more interesting that way.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, it's more sustainable. If you're not buying hugely expensive commercial strains of yeast, but you're growing them and keeping them healthy inside the brewery, that's better. You know, it's better financially. The beer is better using natural carbonation that you capture in the tank as opposed to pumping in CO2, which 99.9% of breweries do. Tastes better, has a better texture, better mouthfeel. Yeah, who'd have thunk, right? It's exactly like what you're saying. It's a system. It's a living, breathing kind of ecosystem.
It's just, I saw too that like you like most places do buy their barrels and stuff. Like you have one brew that was aged in like a Buffalo Trace one, but that you also build your own barrels as well.
We haven't built our own barrels, but the barrels that we've had barrels that were built in the barn before us. A long time ago, there was a little barrel cooperage. So there was a guy making Oregon. A cooper is a barrel maker. And so a long time ago, there was a guy named Rick who built Oregon white oak wine barrels in the barn in the same space. I actually worked for him for a summer.
Cool space this is that you've got.
It's magic. I mean, before we were there we had the hazelnut operation back in the 60s and 70s, 80s, up in the early 90s. Then the cooperage was there for several years. There was a winery for 10 years. That guy's still in business at another place. It's called J.K. Carrier, excellent wines. So the space had all this cool mojo in it too. And so it felt like the right place to put our brewery too. Like if we can make it work, like there was a good history there. And my late father had helped build it with these rafters that came out of an old meatpacking plant in Portland. Mm-hmm. So there's 18 beams that are 18 feet wide over it that are huge, that he brought out from this warehouse in Portland and installed. So there's all kinds of history there, and like personal history and just kind of good vibes from the other projects that have been there. It's definitely not easy to build a modern brewery in an old ass barn.
Well, and I was going to ask,
I do not recommend it.
I was going to ask that too, because it sounds like you recently got new equipment for the brewery from Italy, or
we did. We had a big breakdown. I won't go into too far into it. Our system basically blew up last year, and it was unforeseen. We had a perfect batch one day, the next day, boom, it was not salvageable. But our insurance company came through. We were able to source new gear. It took about 8 months to get it and de-install, able to just, break it, everything down, bring the new stuff in. Huge project. Very exhausting, honestly. But we did it. We restarted brewing in late August. So it's a different, it's very modern, like newfangled gear, a lot of like computers involved and stuff. But it's still also totally manual. We have to turn every valve. It just, I would say, has a lot more instrumentation. There's a lot more readout, a lot more data coming back, but we still have to crank every valve, and it's not like push buttons.
You could take your nerd level to a new level now.
We're nerding even harder.
Well, it's like music. You just got a new rack with like all the equipment to do the sounds.
Like just the knobs,
like half of America during COVID, I started doing sourdough. But unlike that half, I kept doing it and still do it. And these guys know how hard I nerd out on that. Like
we've seen the progression.
It's a rabbit hole. Right?
Yeah, man. And so I understand the impetus to like dig into something that's interesting, especially, I don't know, this sounds weird. Something that people ingest.
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from? Like your end product is going into other people and like giving them
that's
flavor and taste and life
sustenance,
and
enjoyment.
And so nerding out on that thing, like I said, the end product, people can tell.
And getting experimental, because that was a big step. We talked about it, and then some of his last loaves was the first time he started infusing the sourdough, putting rosemary and garlic into it. And he cooks. I've been a cook too, and so we're our own worst critics. He's like, every time he makes a loaf, we're like, oh my God. He's like, yeah,
yeah.
maybe
fermentation was off by about an hour and a half.
And the crust, and
that's so true. We are very perfectionists like that. And I've had all these amazing brewers come to the brewery and work with us, and just like everyone's shared, I think, the same level of like granularity, like really wanting to go down the absolute rabbit hole to the nth degree, and it makes it more fun. It makes it more challenging. It's probably not the wisest economic choice most of the time. But like you said, I mean, what you just said reminded me that when we first opened, I remember coming around the corner and seeing there were like 6 or 8 people in line, you know, and there's a lot of hype about the brewery. But to me, I was like terrified. These people are about to come in and taste our beer from the public, and they weren't family and friends. It was literal strangers that had read about it, and they were there to come and taste the beer. I remember thinking, I have this awesome responsibility too. Like, I have to make something that they love, that they're going to share and enjoy. And like, we're not just doing it because it's a job or like, oh yeah, whatever. You know, we really care. We really want people to like think about it and talk about it and share and all that level. And, you know, and beer is one of those subjects like baking or cooking or music that can just go to the nth degree. I mean, we can keep going deeper and deeper and deeper always. There seems to be no end to the amount of experimentation.
Tell me about all the strains of hops. I'm just kidding.
The Pacific Northwest, like the beer scene up here in the Pacific Northwest is crazy. Because when we moved here in 2016, Aaron's nephew Ryder, who lives with us, we were pretty heavy drinkers when we moved here, and like our goal was like, we're going to try every microbrew in the Pacific North. Then we quickly found out like you could go online and find the lists of them, and we realized there's like 600 to 800 breweries in the Pacific Northwest. And we're like, okay, well, we're gonna enjoy some samplings and stuff. You're playing like music to heavy critics up here.
It's true. No, we do have the best scene, one of the best scenes in the world, arguably. I mean, like, so many heroes to look up to, you know, and like when anything goes right, we always say we're standing on the shoulders of giants, because there's been so much innovation, so much work at OSU, so many Portland breweries that have paved the way. I mean, we had some of the first breweries in America after Prohibition, you know, I mean, the very early scene was born here, you know, and I think there's just something in the air, you know, in the Northwest.
Because it's not just beer. It's like people are craftsmen here in Portland for everything.
That's true.
Yes.
There's the woodworking, there like mandolin making,
tie-dye guy.
Yeah,
Takes
everybody
their
really
craft
takes
seriously.
exactly. They're taking
and
their
what
craft
you can
seriously.
grow up here. I mean, how fertile this valley is, and the whole Pacific Northwest. What you can grow in the soil is amazing.
I mean, speaking of instruments, I got to throw a shout out because Preston Thompson guitars. I saw your Billy Strings posters over there.
Oh yeah,
a massive fan. I just worship the ground. That whole band walks on there, incredible. Yeah. But Preston Thompson's coming out with some guitars. They're going to be in the lobby, and then Neckville banjos as well. So they have something going on up at Wintergrass. So we want to bring the work folks into our building instruments, and you know, like talking about woods and tone woods and tops and all the different stuff. And, you know, I love that stuff too. I mean, I could go down the rabbit hole in guitars as well. And it's just fun for a lot of us in the scene. You know, we live to nerd out about like, what's the tone wood in this hop and why, how old is that? And you know, that's really fun too. So
yeah, if you're gonna carry a pick around in your pocket looking for that Martin, I get it.
It works, dude. That's some voodoo right there. I recommend it.
That's the best.
That Martin that's sitting over there. I had been wanting a Martin for 25 years, telling Mel like, I want a Martin someday. I don't feel like I earned it yet. I want a Martin. And our buddy Cody that we were telling you about called me one day, and he's like, hey, I found this Martin on OfferUp, and it's $500. The guy doesn't know what he has.
Oh my God.
Do you want it? And I was like, I don't have the $500 right now, man. I'll hold on to the post. He
called me and was like, hey, I'm going to get this for Aaron. I was like, okay, I'll give you some money. Do it.
But he just shows up later that day and he's like, here's your guitar, man. I was like, I don't have the money for it. He's like, we'll worry about that later.
We took care of it.
Yeah. Now let's play together.
Yeah. So the mojo is real when it comes to that stuff, man. And there ain't nothing like playing a Martin.
I've known him 40 years, and I've rarely seen him. Maybe like when he married Mel and had a child, and like it compared to that, the look on his face and the way he held it and everything, it was like, holy shit!
Finally,
yeah.
When you finally find your
it's like another addition to the family.
Yeah. I get it, big time. I got you.
So Why wolves and people?
Oh, so yeah, this is good. I grew up on this farm, right? And when I was a little kid, there was another farm down the road that also had 5 boys and a hazelnut farm. And yeah, it's just crazy. We were all friends running around on the farm, and there was a game that we invented at night called Wolves and People. So you would wait till dusk, and then you elect a wolf. So you get to be the wolf, and us people will go and turn around while you hide, and we count to 10. But then we have to get across the field or the meadow or the yard or whatever without getting tagged. And if you get tagged, you become a wolf. Eventually, the whole pack of wolves is chasing the last person. They're the winner, right? But it also kind of sucks to get chased by a pack of wolves. You're going to get dog-piled, wolf-piled. So that's true story. I mean, a game happened as recently as last summer with some nieces and nephews there. And it's just like a fun, tag game. But I also love the idea of the wild versus tamed thing. And the old, the classical world, hops were called the wolf of weeds. The Latin name is the wolf of weeds. So there's some crossover there. Okay. I just really wanted a beer name a brewery name that was unique and memorable. It seems to have stuck in the craw for some folks. And, it does always cause people to stop and think what's the situation? And the other thing I love to talk about is that at some ancient point in history, speaking of nerding out on things, a wild wolf and a person became friends. At one point,
Darwin would not be here had that not happened.
It did, and it came down to one meeting. There was one wild wolf. It's true, because all wolves have been domesticated from one early point when they were not trying to kill the person. The person lured them in, offered them whatever, they became friends. That's the beginning of the evolution of dogs. There was one meeting, and I love that idea that something beautiful can start from one moment.
Yes.
One unfolding moment.
One festival.
One festival, yes.
Well, and that meeting definitely came and happened out of being kind.
Yeah. Being kind. And that's it.
Or hungry.
Or hungry.
Yeah, maybe that too. A little of that in there.
That's a really deep and beautiful thought to share. You're right. One thing can spark, ignite, and anything. Anything.
Hopefully, if your intention's in the right place, and that's always been our thing, is we want to bring people together. There's all these other layers we learned about later, even in Oregon, the history of Oregon. So interesting. These early trappers and settlers were out here trying to figure out what to do. They were not doing well. They were having conflicts with the indigenous peoples. They were doing things were not going well. You couldn't figure it out. So there's a series of things that ended up being called the wolf meetings. And they got together, and these happened in a few miles from the farm where the brewery is. The wolf meetings where these early folks got together and we want to survive out here. We got to figure it out. What are we going to do? And so those meetings became formative for the state of Oregon. And out of the wolf meetings came the first charter at Champouy Park, and where that place was I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. And so it's written into not the entire true history of the state, because obviously there were people here before who were forced to leave unfairly. Mm-hmm. But in the sort of modern era, in a way, the wolf meetings led to, some semblance of life as we know it, now. So we love that idea too, people getting together to solve problems, I guess.
Talking about one thing can change a life. When was your first Dead show?
My first Dead show?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that. June 23rd, 1990 at Austin Stadium.
Oh, Austin.
With Little Feet opening up.
Oh, Little Feet.
And whoa, what a show. I mean, they released it last year as one of the picks in the series. And I mean, I love it. I could go on too long about
it. What was it about that first show that hooked you?
Okay. This is perfect. My dad had tickets somehow through his business, gave them to my brother. I heard about them. My older brother brings me in with my best friend. And I was like, we'll see you in the parking lot afterwards. Sorry, bro. Yeah. Sorry, Dan. And he's like, where are you going? We're going to the floor. So best friend Max and I run down to the floor. We talk our way. I don't know how this happened.
How old are you?
16.
Okay.
So we're 16. We get down in front of the soundboard. Somehow we're just drawn to there. We stand in front of it. And, met some very kind locals who hooked us up and, had some of the local, herbs. And the show started, and Feel Like a Stranger, the first song. I literally felt that, the bass just hitting my whole body. I felt like it'd been blown a foot backwards. And I was just nailed to the floor. I mean, I was literally like, this is it for me. Like, this is my favorite thing
Just
ever.
within that first few chords.
It was insane. It was so good. And it was really a Phil show. Like, it was a bit heavy Phil mix that night. And, you know, I actually don't even remember that much more of the show because I was so mind blown as a 16-year-old. Hearing it, being close, it was insane. I mean, that really was a great memory for me and my best friend. We're going to the Sphere soon. We're going back down to see whatever we can, whenever we can. It was a big, important part for my life.
Wow.
So my first show was 2/10/89 at the LA Forum. And the song that did it for me was "Feel Like a Stranger."
Oh, nice. Dude, it's so good.
I got puddled and was just face just melting and couldn't, my friends ditched me that I had gone with. And I saw that like there was a flow of people going into the venue. So I'm like, there must be something in there that I totally out of my head. And as I was walking in, they're playing "Feel Like a Stranger." I didn't know the song, and Bobby's saying the lyrics, and I was like, how the fuck does he know? How do they know?
Oh yeah, right.
But
right.
I had
talking
that,
to me.
Yeah, I had that same experience of like, this is it. I'm never leaving. I'm done. I don't want to do anything else ever. I want to be here all the time, forever.
It was the best. I mean, those tours, 89 and 90, like, okay.
So good.
I'm not really that long of an expert in it, but those tours were awesome. And Brent was still playing and everything was hitting.
Jared
that
was
summer
clean
tour was
in 89.
awesome.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
We're so lucky.
I missed those. Aaron finally talked me into going 91.
It was 91.
Yeah,
right?
it was 91 was my first show in Vegas, and it was kind of the same thing. I didn't know anything other than what he said. I thought he was completely nuts because for that, we were into punk and metal, and all of a sudden he's this deadhead smelling like patchouli driving a 32-foot international school bus around the country and not being my best friend anymore. And then he finally got me to go, and same thing. It took me about halfway through the show to finally get it.
It was Help
and
Slip that got you, wasn't
no,
it?
Scarlet Fire.
Oh, Scarlet Fire.
It was Scarlet Fire, and then into the drums and space, and then same thing.
Done.
Like, holy shit, I didn't know this.
It's a
was
gift
a
that
thing.
keeps on giving, right? Like here it is, like 50 years later or 30 years later, and there's Bobby, bless his heart, still touring, still got all this energy. Like the music is alive. There's like bands connected to it, and like that wasn't what brought me to Broken Compass, but they're playing a lot in the scene down the Bay Area, Marin County, like in the San Francisco area. Like I feel like there's some crossover with the scene a little bit, and that's very cool. And I heard a couple covers they did, like Deal and maybe a Loser, like a super fast version of Loser.
Oh wow!
And also not Thrill Is Gone, but Walkin' Boss, which from like the Garcia Gressman album. They did a version of that with the guy from Railroad Earth, and I was like, this is
Broken
killer.
Compass did?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm, fingers crossed. I don't think they're going to hear this, but I really hope they break some material out. We'll see.
It's just blows my mind that like, and we were actually just talking about this in the interview we did earlier today. We're all these people that have different lives and different perspectives and different upbringings, and then we do this one thing and have this transformative, magical, weird experience, and it's very much the same for all of us. Like I can't explain that. It's and at first I remember like even into when we started No Simple Road, I always wanted to try and explain that. I had been looking for the way to put it into words, and I give up at this point.
No, I think you've explained it well. It is like the spark or something. Like I remember when my buddy Dave played Old and in the Way for me. I'd never heard that before. I hadn't heard, the Garcia Grissman album from 1990. Mm-hmm. Those albums are etched into my brain, like carved in marble. Like they're never going away. The first time I heard them was just like, first time you hear Midnight Moonlight, the first time you hear Thrill Is Gone, the first time you hear some of that stuff, it's insane. It changes the brain chemistry. It's that good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you meet other people down the road who share that, and you're like, oh, I remember the first time I heard it. Or the first time you heard Terrapin Station, 14 or 15. What I mean? It's like,
It bonds you.
It bonds you.
And you don't even need to have been to the same show.
No. No,
That's what's crazy is that like we're having all these experience worldwide, even nationwide, worldwide, and then we get together and it's like we were at the same place, but we weren't.
Yeah, you got to keep that going.
And with the Grateful Dead too, that's one of our favorite questions, and it's also our favorite answers. Like when he just asks you that, everybody like.
Well, let me tell you,
gets settled a little more in their seat and smiles.
And there's always a story.
Like, and almost everybody always remembers the exact date and everything. Like it is so magical.
Oh, dude, I remember
so good.
The show closed with the "It's All Over Now, Baby Blue," and I never been. I love Dylan's songs when Dylan doesn't do the songs. They're awesome. Yeah,
it's an incredible song, right?
Yeah, and that night, like hearing that song from Jerry after the experience that I had that night was like somebody coming up to you and like giving you a hug after you've been in a fight.
Giving you a blanket, making you all comfy
after you've like gone through the gauntlet, and then like it's okay, man. Like it was one of the craziest things ever. And you know, Mel never got to see them, but she's the one that like made me realize what it was about Jerry that was so impactful. You hear all these people be like, oh, when I would see the Dead play, it was like he was singing just to me, and had these like transformational experiences watching them play. And she was like, that's like somebody seeing a guru, like that same kind of energy coming through. Like when Ram Dass met his guru and his life changed, like that was what was happening for people.
I agree. I mean, yeah.
Well, some people carry energy. Some people carry, well, everybody does, but I mean like a certain type of energy where they're not trying to be like the dad or the leader or the mom, but they just get that kind of energy regardless. People are, you know, grateful to them, or people, you can recognize it. And so, you never have to say it either. It's just like a knowing where you meet somebody and you're like, they deserve respect somehow, you know, to bow to them or put your hands in prayer pose, or, you know, like, but whatever it is, it's just people feel like that. And I never saw Jerry, but like his voice, what he's done, it has that same kind of energy and that same kind of like importance without needing to see him live or not. You just feel like, oh, there was something. He had something. Something was in him, and he had a way of sharing it with everybody that was really cool and beautiful, and clearly the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, stronger than ever.
A lot like your dorm mate that's homebrewing or building his own mandolin changes everything.
Yeah, no. You see someone, they rewrite the possible, I think, for you know, on a certain level, even if it's a very basic thing, you kind of see like, well, I could do that.
Yes.
Building a mandolin, what? And then, you know, became a really accomplished player. You know, the guy who showed me how to homebrew became a surgeon, you know, very meticulous person. And, you know, but they open the doors for you and they show you a certain way. So I mean, in a way, I kind of, maybe I didn't get too much past those two revelations. We're like, wow, bluegrass is it for me now, and the Dead, this is it for me. And making beer, I can't think of anything more fun. But here it is 30 years later, I'm like still learning. There's still tons of stuff I don't know, tons of science, tons of mentors, tons of, you know, you could just keep going, you know, and that's the beautiful aspect of it. It's very engaging in that way, you know, and I'm seldom bored of it. You know, there's drudgery too, but it's a job, you know, but but the inspiration is there. And I often think back to those first, you know, moments when when I fell in love with the whole idea of it, like, or the sensory part of it.
Yeah. And I can't wait to go to the festival.
I know.
I can't wait.
I'm stoked about
you guys
this.
can come. It's going to be good.
We'll
go. We'll go.
We're there. So we're there already.
Nice.
So
everybody out there, go follow at Newgrass Fest on Instagram. And then you can go to the Chehalem
Cultural
Center.org for tickets, or you can go to Wolves and People.
Yeah, it's all linked up there. You know, that's the brewery at Wolves and People on Instagram, and try to keep it updated.
And do it now, because if you don't, you're going to go there and it's going to be, it says there's no tickets, and then you're going to be sad.
And then what is it's every Thursday You have the
Yes.
jams.
Yes, thanks for asking. Every Thursday at the brewery in Newberg, there is a jam session from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
It's completely open, all levels, all ages, you know.
Don't look
You're
at
bringing
me.
your banjo.
I'll
We're
say,
going.
hear that, everybody.
We are going to release a beer for the festival too, and we were struggling to name it. We decided to just call it Banjo.
Yes.
There you go.
Literally
Yeah.
just banjo.
Well,
so
you
can
know,
I have more banjo, please?
Yes.
yes.
More banjo.
You know,
I like that. That's great.
Thomas
I've got a
Neckville
fever.
did the same thing with me, like when he turned around for our interview at String Summit, yeah, and he turned around and showed that beautiful banjo that he made. Like
The Galaxy banjo. Do you know?
I don't know it, but I know what you're talking about.
it's
Insane.
like I fell in love with an inanimate object. It's
We have
like
a picture
what,
of
yeah,
Mel
it's the,
holding. He's like, put it on. Hold
I
it.
was like,
And-
no, I couldn't. I can't touch your instrument. He's like, no, I want like hold it, and just like I felt like I used to work valet. I felt like it was like a Lamborghini driving up, and it was like my turn
was.
to like.
You call it the golden banjo?
No, I don't call it. It's not, but it was a golden moment in my life
I
for
see, I
sure.
see. We thought
No,
about
it was just really. It was just like you know, like when you see your kid. They, you know, I've had 2 children. They hand you your baby, and you like. You can finally see them. It was something in my life that was hidden when I finally saw it. I was like,
So
oh my
weird to see it
God.
too. Like being on the
I
outside
didn't-
watching. Like,
because I'm not a natural musician. I love music. I love to dance. I love to sing. I write lyrics. I like to rap, but playing music was never natural to me. So wanting that or even deciding that was a really big step in my head. Like I was
you
like,
could do this.
I was like, I want that. And I don't just want it. I want to learn how to play it.
That's
and
awesome.
so it was
I'm
like,
I'm not buying
it's a
you
big
Neckville
moment.
first.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
and
like, I didn't want it. I felt like you have to earn that. You do have
but
to
the spark
deserve
was there.
that.
The picture that we took her with it on, you can see the spark in her eye, like the banjo player was born.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love
It's
that.
But
there.
it's still, this is like a lot longer than 9 months for a baby. Like this is,
Yeah, it's been sitting.
I mean, I was really good. I have a busy life.
Babe,
And
I'm not giving you shit.
have to dedicate your time to music.
Yeah.
You really do. And I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah, that'll
as
happen.
Well, I mean,
And
I did for a little bit.
I was gonna say, we're approaching the end here. I have a question because I think this is important. I was reading about it. Tell us about Houdini.
What?
I saw Houdini last night. Houdini is our barn cat. So we have a rescue. We went to the Newberg Animal Shelter because we really wanted a barn cat to help deter the mice population
Critters.
and the bats and stuff. And there was this at the shelter in Newberg. They actually kind of post the photos of the cats online to be like, these are our stars right now. You know, come down and adopt one, right?
Yeah.
So I went there with my friend Andrew, who worked at the brewery at the time, and we came in and we had seen Houdini, his little jet black face and green eyes, and we're like, that's Houdini is the one we want. We come in there and they're like, oh, you know, what's going on? We're here for Houdini. And they're like, what? Like, we're here for Houdini. And they're like, come in here. You know, they're like yelling at the other employees, like, these guys are here for Houdini, because Houdini was like the meanest, most feral cat of all time.
Okay.
And no one could get close to him. Like, perfect.
Yeah.
Bring Houdini to the farm. And they're like, you really want this cat? You're never going to pet this cat. You're never going to touch it. And we're like, that's fine. We're going to give it a good home. So we managed to bring Houdini home, feed him for 2 weeks in our office using his little cage. And then
Was he
we started-
wild?
The wild, fully feral cat.
Okay.
But we eventually left it open, and now he lords over the barn. And I haven't seen a mouse, and I can't even remember how.
Can you pet him?
What?
I can't. I've come within like 10 feet of this cat, you know. And I'll be like, I saw him last night, and I pulled my car over, and like Houdini, and like stops for a second, his little tail will like curl a little bit, and then gone. He's not.
He loves you guys, though.
He loves us. He's loyal. It's been 2 years now. And, you know, because I feed him like once a month, maybe. Like but he looks good. He looks healthy. He's eating a lot of
Mice, rodents,
area
and-
wildlife, let's say.
Okay, that is so cool. I
That's
just had
really
because you
cute.
just
That's
mentioned
great.
it.
Thank
And
you for asking. He's like my hero. Houdini is the coolest cat. I'll probably never get to pet him, but he's rad.
He does a lot.
that's awesome. I had a feeling there was a story with Houdini.
If you see Houdini at the barn, I mean, I will buy you a beer. Like, seriously, like no one even believes Houdini is real. Like, I swear. This is
There's a
real
cat here.
There's a cat.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Wow.
mice carcass all over. All right, last time, everybody, Newgrass Festival,
March 15th.
March 15th.
9 to 11.
9 to 11. Go to
9
Chehalem.
a.m. to 11
Yeah.
p.m. Yep.
ChehalemCulturalCenter.org. That's EHALEM culturalcenter.org, and follow at Newgrass Fest on Instagram. And come out, and No Simple Road will be out there, and you might even see Houdini the cat. And much like Houdini, I might even be playing my guitar out somewhere.
Yeah,
So
bring
there
your
you go.
instruments.
All right, everybody. We'll see you on Friday with another episode of No Simple Road, right?
Yeah.
And until that time, take care of each other, smile at a stranger, safety third, hydrate.
Support your local music scene.
And thanks, Christian, for being on the
Christian,
show.
thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is a treat.
Yeah.
Cheers.
But it's a burden. Family needs has been deferred, and hella means been the earth, and alchemy can bring the birth, the melody of a newborn. So persistent, so resistant, so insistent, so commitment, so resilient, or haven't you learned it? No simple road. 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 My windshield is shattered as I focus through the spot in the corner that is still intact. The react is both a defense mechanism as well as a fear. We've traveled this road before, so we may think, but it's a tad bit of strange similarities that feed an A=A complex. The fears of your past do not equal the perplexities of the current road.
The number you have reached is 100.7 WMMS.
It wasn't just a radio station, it was a lifestyle.
Cleveland is a rock and roll city for sure.
Get down! The Wrath of the Buzzard. WMMS. Cleveland.
The rise and fall of one of the most iconic radio stations in America. Profiles. The Wrath of the Buzzard. PROH Files. Subscribe now wherever you get podcasts.